Hello folks and welcome back to another exciting edition of
Should I watch
this? And today we are going to review Pixels for you. We hope you loved Goosebumps, which is the one we just did. And today it's Pixels starring Adam Sandler and Kevin James. And we are going to go straight into this with telling you the story. And the story for this one is quite nice for people who are of a certain age. So it starts with people who really love arcade games. They are kids. And they are playing these games, these fantastic arcade games that I used to love playing when I was a kid. And Adam Sandler's one character is really good because he sees patterns. So he gets to be really good at arcade games. And then they enter themselves into the 1982 Game Championships of the World. And very importantly, as part of this Game Championships, NASA promises to create a video of this competition and send it into space, which is based on the whole movie sort of theme. Anyway, so it gets to the final and Adam Sandler's character gets into a tie with another guy called
Fire Blaster.
And he's a really obnoxious little guy. And they play Donkey Kong and they play it forever and ever and ever, and actually eventually Sam loses. Cuts to a grown-up scene and suddenly Sam's in the bar talking to his mate Chewie, and he's called Chewie because he won a Chewbacca mask in one of the arcade games. It turns out that Chewie is now the President of America, if you can stretch your imagination that far. Sam, unfortunately, as clever as he was, is now just a kind of TV and sort of Sky installer, which is sad. So they're having a chat, and then he goes to somebody's house to install a TV. At the same time, he gets to meet the woman who lives there with her son. You know, suggestion of something might be going on. She just split up with her husband, and it's all very sad, and he's there to goof around, and then they both get called to the White House. It turns out there are spaceships around the Earth, and we are under attack in the world from some mysterious cube things. So Sam gets called to the White House because his best friend's the president and he knows a lot about arcades, and suddenly the girl he's just been installing the TV for is at the White House too. And it turns out that they were attacked by Gallagher, as Sam explains it, which for everybody remembers retro games, that was a good one. And so it turns out that Ludlow, who is another one of their friends, he reckons that the aliens found the videotape from 1982 that was launched into space, took it as a sort of a competition message, some act of war, and have been using it to create attacks on the Earth and make a competition. I know, it's quite a long-winded story. Anyway, so these attacks start. There's an attack in India where the Taj Mahal gets gobbled up, and eventually the president, who's got a very low sort of popularity rating, decides it's time to fight back. So he recruits Sam to teach the army guys how to do arcade training, ready for their next battle, which just happens to be Centipede in the UK. And they recruit Fire Blaster along the way from prison, who's now, you know, the same obnoxious guy. They get a little group together and they produce these light cannons to try and fight back. Anyway, so that's the premise of the story. So eventually, basically, they fight through all the series of things and have to fight all these sort of retro games to win back the Earth. And we have to see what happens with a sort of, you know, Adam Sandler and his crew. Anyway, so that's the basic premise of Pixels. Very good, very retro. But is it any good, Ninja Sun?
Yes.
Good. I also thought it was very good, and it's very funny, and obviously the retro gaming part of it is very good, which moves us on to our review elements from each side of the fence. What did you think? Is there any swearing?
I think there isn't.
Okay, I would say there's probably mild swearing like butt, as in the UK bit there's bugger, but nothing out of the ordinary. You know, sitting next to an 8-year-old who didn't even notice half of them. So it's okay. So moving on to scary things, what would you say?
I'd say a little bit for people who are like 4 or something.
Well, let's talk about children just in general. Did you find anything scary?
I saw the bit where the weird guy gets his hand. You know, that bit.
Oh yeah, there's a bit when people get attacked by the aliens, there's no blood, but they get cubed.
Yeah.
So in several scenes you see, it's actually kind of moving into the violence bit too, but there's a bit where a guy gets his hand and his arm eaten off, but there's no blood, it's just kind of cubed off.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's probably, in terms of scary, it's probably quite moderate. There's a bit of sort of, the games have faces like Centipede, which is a bit scary, but moderate. Which moves us on to violence.
Now, I think there is one, which is where the Wonder Kids get actually owned and gets punched in the face by Sam.
Oh yeah, so Ludlow, who's called Wonder Kid, he's one of the geeky ones. He gets punched in the face when he's hiding in the back of somebody's van. There's also the bit with the cubing. There's also an army guy who gets cubed and sort of sent to the mothership. There's lots of guns. They're not real guns, but they're like guns if you don't like guns or kids seeing guns. I wouldn't go too crazy. And obviously the game characters, as I said, things being eaten or things attacking. Again, it's all very mild. So, no issues there. So let's move on to naughty stuff.
There is 4 for me.
Okay, but it's good saying there are 4, but tell us what they are or what you would avoid.
The first one is when Sam tries to kiss the lady in the closet, which he didn't get to kiss her, but I just counted that as a naughty
Right,
bit.
so that wasn't really one. Anyone?
The second one was when the Wonder Kid kisses that girl.
Yeah. There's a bit of kissy.
I think the third one was.
Third one, don't mention it if you're going to give away any secret.
Nope.
All right.
And I think the fourth
No
one
spoilers.
is also another secret.
Okay, we won't say, but there's just a bit of kissing. Nothing too improper, apart from there's a little bit of inappropriate dancing. It's so inappropriate that he didn't even notice, but I did. Just be warned. Okay, so is this suitable for kids?
Probably yes.
Probably yes. Yes or probably yes?
So then yes.
Okay.
And is it suitable for adults, Ninja Dad?
Yep. I would say yes. It's really funny, like all Adam Sandler films, I'm sorry to say, for those of you who hate Adam Sandler. It's quite touching in places. It's very retro, obviously, with all the games. I loved it. This is about the third time we've actually watched it together. Which leads me on to, what do you think is the appropriate age for this film? It's classed as a 12. What do you think?
So I think it's a PG,
Mm-hmm.
and the age is 6 and over.
Okay, I think it's a PG, and I would say probably more like your age, so 8 and over. But I would say there's just moments where it just goes a little bit naughty. I wouldn't say the violences were, just a little bit naughty, but nothing too crazy. I would say it's probably mild. So, what's the best bits?
My best bit was when Cuba was in a suit, and the son said, who was also in a suit, "Hey, Brenner," and then Cuba copied him and went, "Hey, Brenner." It was really funny.
Okay.
I think that was the best bit. And what do you think yours was the best bit?
I really like the music. Is really good in this. Adam Sandler picks great music for his films. The game bits are brilliant, aren't they? Watching all the games. There's even Paperboy flies out at one time. If you remember that, older people. But yes, it's a really good film. What's the worst bit of this film for you?
I think the worst bit is when. But why don't you say your first bit?
All right.
I mean, your worst
You got
bit.
no worst bits?
No,
my
I
worst
haven't
bits,
got one.
they go to UK and there's some terrible English accents. I can't stand that. Those characters, hello, dear, doodly doodly, diddly diddly. They do the same in India as well. It's quite almost bordering on racist in a way. But I guess you got to take that with a bit of humour. But that's the only things I can think of, really. Anything you can think of?
No.
I think it's great. I mean, overall, I'd say this is a really good film. It's funny. You don't notice the time flying away. I mean, it's, based on something which is ridiculous, but, aren't most films, and it's fun. Overall, it's fun, and you'll laugh at most of the things. Mostly Q-Bert. I mean, he's hilarious. So, that is our review of Pixels. I hope it was okay. Now we've got to get to how many ninjas, or ninja stars, out of 5 would you give it?
I'd say 5.
5? You really like it. He does actually love this film. And I would say 4. It's really good, really funny. Probably one of Adam Sandler's best films, and a really young and old. It is great. So that's our review. I hope you enjoy it. Catch us next time for another Should I
Watch these?
Thank you, folks. Don't forget to subscribe and say goodbye, Ninja Son.
Goodbye.
Bye, folks.